Welcome to the Queen of Hearts podcast. And here's the queen herself, registered dietitian Heather Klug.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Queen of Hearts podcast. I'm Heather Klug, registered dietitian with the Karen Jantz Women's Cardiac Awareness Center. And with me today is Bethany DeBrew Adams, our health communications coordinator. Hello, Bethany.
Hello, Heather. It's nice to be back in the same room with you again after a few weeks.
Yes, we've both had some vacations here and there, or just different things going on. And I should apologize to everybody. My voice sounds a little gravelly today.
Heather had herself some fun a couple days ago.
Yeah, I went to Six Flags Great America, and I only screamed like just once or twice on a roller coaster. And it's just, apparently I have a delicate voice box because my voice, I don't know, my voice has just not been its usual self the last couple days. So I'm drinking lots of tea with, some honey in it.
You have that like sexy kind of gravelly.
Ooh, okay, we'll go with that.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So, Bethany, we've been talking about summer.
Yes.
The past few months
Yay.
in previous episodes. And while summer means warmer weather and longer daylight hours, summer also means farmers markets and a wider variety of fruits and vegetables to buy and eat.
Yes, that are fresh.
Yes.
As opposed to coming here from far, far away.
Yes.
Yeah, last, I think August, actually, we did
I think it was July.
Oh, I thought it was later in the summer, but we did an episode on farmers markets. You can go back and listen to that. And the heart health benefits of eating fruits and vegetables, specifically the ones that you get right off the truck that come right from the farm.
That's right. And today we are going to dive deeper by discussing a couple of fruits that are at their peak in each of the summer months, at least summer here in Wisconsin.
Right. Now we have listeners all over the world, so those of you who aren't here with us in Wisconsin, you may have different peak seasons for your fruits and vegetables that we'll be discussing today.
I will also be doing some short cooking videos called the Summer Produce Series, highlighting different fruits and vegetables and what to do with them, just so you have a little more variety.
That'll be good because my husband's always telling me we need more variety in the vegetables that I serve with dinner. So, and I like variety too, but I'm not always as adventurous with like my vegetables.
Okay.
But let's start with June fruits. So I think I know what the fruits are that are really in season here in June. And let me give you a color. Red.
Ooh, you got it, Bethany.
Okay.
For June, the fruits in season are strawberries and cherries.
Yum.
Yum, yum. Harvest time can vary somewhat depending on the states these fruits are grown in and weather conditions, but June is generally prime time for things like strawberries and cherries.
Yeah, and I love strawberries. I think you're hard-pressed to find people who don't like strawberries, but sometimes it's very hard at the grocery store to find good strawberries. And I feel like that's happening more lately.
Yeah.
And it's always a bummer to spend the money and get that package of strawberries home, and it just either tastes like nothing or everything's moldy or whatever.
Yeah.
So what should our listeners out there look for when they're buying strawberries?
Well, I agree, Bethany. It can be very disappointing. Don't worry, we're not going to do that the whole time.
We won't do it all day.
We won't do it again. Yeah, this season I feel like it's been a little disappointing so far. I mean, the strawberries have been okay, but I really have to look through when I'm at the store. Some seasons produce better strawberries than others.
Right.
And I've been known to take several minutes looking at containers of strawberries before finding a good one to bring home. One time a guy yelled at me. He's like, well, you got to look at all of them.
Just buy it, lady.
I go, hey, I'm spending like $4 or $5 on these. I'm going to make sure I'm picking out the good ones. But anyway, here are my main tips for picking out good strawberries. So one of the first things you can do, and this is good for all the produce, is call your grocery store or talk to like the produce manager when you're there and ask when the strawberry shipments come in, because they're usually certain days of the week. I think it's usually 2.
Okay.
Like the grocery store I go to said they come Tuesdays and they come Saturdays or Tuesday, Friday, something like that. So if you're coming on like Monday or Tuesday of that week,
they're gonna have
you're
sat
getting
there.
you're getting the ones ones that are left over, that everybody's picked through and that have been sitting there for a few days,
the
right?
lonely strawberry.
So that way you're going to get the freshest ones if you got them like right after they come in or the next day. So you're getting the super nutritious ones, the ones that are going to taste the best, right? Especially because strawberries are really perishable. So they don't always last very long. We'll get into that too. So you want to buy them when they're at their freshest. The other big tip, certainly look for bright red berries. It's important to know strawberries don't ripen after they are picked.
Right.
Like a lot of the stone fruits.
What you see is what you're going to get.
That is right. All right. Look for plump berries, right? And you also want to look for fresh green leaves that are on there. If they're wilted, that probably means those strawberries aren't at their freshest, right?
Right.
This next tip is probably very obvious, but avoid moldy berries.
Which can be hard if they're the middle of the pack.
That's true. Sometimes I feel like they stick a moldy one in each one of them or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. So pick up the container and look around the whole thing, including the bottom. I always tip it over and I look underneath.
Yep.
Because if there's a mushy one on the bottom, it's very likely it's contaminated a lot of the other ones because pretty much one berry can spoil the rest or at least a bunch of them.
For sure. So what about size? I've heard a lot of times smaller berries are better. They're going to be a little bit sweeter. But I think when most of us get a box of them at the store, we have those monster berries. So does size really make a difference?
Does size matter? Is that what you're asking?
In just this instance.
Okay. That's a great question, Bethany. Smaller strawberries do tend to be sweeter overall, but there are 3 main types of strawberries with 103 species of them. And strawberries come in all different sizes, actually. So instead of looking at size, consider the other tips we discussed.
Okay. So now after we buy strawberries, this is the tricky part because we've all done this. We throw it in the, produce bin and forget that they're there and they're icky within a few days.
Right.
So what's the best way to store them that's going to keep them fresh for as long as possible?
Yeah. If they don't get eaten within the first day they're brought home, it's usually how it happens in my house, actually. Sometimes I don't even get any because my kids eat them all. Here's how to extend their life a little. Instead of 2 or 3 days, you might get, 4 to 6 days out of it.
Okay.
Always store strawberries in the refrigerator.
Yes.
Do not keep them on the counter. They will shrivel up if you do that.
Yes.
Okay? You can keep them in the original clamshell container that they come in, or you can transfer them to a produce saver container. Do you have any of those, Bethany? I have some Tupperware ones. I know Rubbermaid makes them too.
Okay.
There may be a few other companies, so you could consider doing that. If you want them to last at least a week in the fridge, it's recommended you cut off the stems.
Okay.
Use a little V-cut. I know a lot of people just cut straight across, but if you get a little paring knife, you kind of cut the V-cut around the stem so you're not losing, a lot of the top part of the berry. Okay. And then you line an airtight container with paper towel, and then you place the strawberries cut side down, okay. And spread them out because you don't want them overlapping over each other a whole lot. They need kind of room to breathe, and then cover the container.
Naturally.
Yes. And then stick them in the fridge.
Okay. Yes.
If your strawberries are about to go bad and you don't plan to eat them, consider freezing them.
Okay.
Have you done that at all?
They've never lasted long enough to have to do that.
Well, that's good.
They're usually, I shouldn't say that they've usually, are past their expiration date if that happens, but.
Oh, I was thinking it's because you guys ate them.
More often than not, yes.
Okay. So if you're going to freeze them, remove the stems. Rinse them under cold water, dry them, right? You can use a paper towel or a cloth towel, and place them in a single layer on a rimmed baking tray or a cookie sheet.
Okay.
And then put them in the freezer, and you freeze them until solid. And then when they're done, you can take them out and you put them in a container or a bag. You want to remove as much air as possible to prevent freezer burn. And then just an additional tip, you can freeze them whole or sliced. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Okay. And then the last tip to get them to extend their life a little, keep them fresh, do not wash strawberries until you're ready to eat them.
Yes.
They really retain moisture easily. That will encourage them to get moldy, so don't do that.
And you'll notice, I don't know if you've ever gone to pick at a strawberry farm, but where I come from.
I haven't. I want to do that, though.
it happens too early in the morning, so I am never there doing
That's
it.
true. They do recommend you go earlier.
My mom and my husband will go a lot, but if you have a particular, like if you have a summer where you've gotten a lot of rain, it's kind of that same thing. You're going to have mushier berries that don't have a lot of flavor because they're retaining all of that moisture.
Oh, okay.
So, all right. So once we're ready to eat the strawberries, how exactly do we wash them? Like, are we going to need one of those fancy, like, produce cleansers that you can buy? Or do we need, now we know that, like, strawberries are in the Dirty Dozen or whatever. Organic strawberries, like, do we even need to clean? Obviously, you would rinse off the dirt, but, like, do you need to clean organic strawberries?
Well, whether you buy regular or organic strawberries, they need to be washed. This really removes the potentially harmful bacteria.
Okay.
Now, there are a couple routes you can go with this. Okay, the first way is probably what most of us are familiar with. You rinse them under cold water and then dry them off with a paper towel, and then you cut them up, right? And eat them. Now, you can go a step further and really clean them with a vinegar and water soak. Okay. I'm sure you can find tons of videos on this online, right?
Sure.
They're very common. But basically, you place the berries in a large glass bowl, and you mix together 1 part white distilled vinegar to 3 parts water. So, for example, you might do 1 cup of vinegar, 3 cups water. Pour that over the berries. Let them soak for about 15 to 20 minutes to really fully get rid of any bacteria that might be in there. Pour the berries into a colander and then rinse them under cold water again. Dry with paper towels or let sit out to dry. And don't worry, they're not going to taste like vinegar.
Okay, that was my next question.
Oh, okay. And then if you're not going to eat the strawberries right away, line a storage container with paper towel again. I really don't have like stock in paper towel. It seems like I'm like using a lot of paper towel here. But add the strawberries. You want to cover them a little bit, but leave like a slight opening, and then you store them in a fridge. Okay. Some people believe this extends the shelf life of strawberries for up to 2 weeks. Now, they never last that long in my house, so I cannot attest to that, but they might last a
very generous.
Doesn't it? I think so, too. So I don't know if you can fully go out 2 weeks, but I would for sure probably at least a week, maybe a little bit longer.
Okay. Now I have an icky question because there's been some stuff that's been online about bugs, particularly worms in strawberries.
Yeah.
So people have been posting videos of worms coming out of strawberries after soaking them in salt water. So what do you have to say about that? Because gross.
Yeah, well, it is a gross thing to talk about. But yes, there can be tiny bugs in strawberries, and I'd highly recommend you don't watch the videos. It'll gross you out.
I have not seen any. I just have heard.
I haven't either because I don't want it to totally ruin strawberries for me because I'm a very visual person, and if I see that, I'm going to have nightmares about it, and I might never want to eat them.
Can we say, though, that these bugs and worms are like you can't see them with the naked eye?
I mean, we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, you can't see them really. It's true.
I think that's important to mention.
Yeah. So these things have been in strawberries since around like 2008 is when they started appearing, at least in the United States. And they're tiny, kind of whitish sort of worms, which really are the maggots of a tiny fruit fly, and it's called the spotted.
You are not making this sound any better. I'm just going to warn you.
This is just the worst part, but it's called the spotted wing Drosophila. I don't know if I'm saying that right, or DSW they're called.
Do they wear little shoes?
Yeah, I know. That's what made me think of it, too. The DSW fly lays eggs inside undamaged ripe berries, and then eventually the maggots kind of hatch if they've been sitting around long enough, okay?
Okay.
Now, don't panic, okay?
It's a little late for that.
I'm sorry. I know I'm grossing everybody out, but the maggots aren't in all the berries. You guys should know that. Commercial growers use pest management, and they do these quality control tests, either using a sweet or saltwater solution to determine if bugs are in their product, because they want to stamp that out as well.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to be offering these kind of produce to people.
Gross.
Not to mention if the bugs are in, if these worms are in the product, they're not going to have a good shelf life. So customers are not going to be happy with that, right? And then stores aren't going to want to buy that kind of fruit anymore. So trust me, they try as best they can to stem that issue to begin with, okay? Refrigeration also stunts their growth. Another reason to kind of keep them in the fridge. Okay. But many of the berries, I will add, used in the videos are probably from old mushy berries that have been sitting out for a week or two. So people are letting these berries sit out and they're getting gross. And once they're at that point, that's when you might see those worms come out if you stick them in that saltwater solution. Does that make sense?
Yes, they want views.
Yes. I mean, if you bought super fresh berries and you did that, you probably wouldn't see anything come out of them, okay? And if the bugs are in there, if you do that vinegar water soak we talked about, that may force some of them out. And even if they don't all come out, this is the really important part. Okay? There's no known ill effects of eating them. And again, you won't even see them. They're invisible to the naked eye. It's not like you're going to slice it open and see worms crawling out of your strawberries. You can't even see what's in there, okay? And I'd like to point out, you may actually be getting a little extra protein.
Just think of all those people who are eating cicadas right now on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to break it to everybody, but you've probably been eating little bugs your whole life in the produce you've been eating.
See, you think you're making that better. You think you're selling this to people, but you're not.
Just don't think about it, okay?
Okay, sure. Don't ever think about that again, folks. Okay, so let's move on.
Okay.
Moving on. So what is your favorite way to eat strawberries?
I personally love strawberries in their naked form.
Naked strawberries?
Yes, just fresh sliced berries. I just love them.
Yeah.
Naturally, right? Without even doing anything to it. I've been known to polish off a whole container just myself.
I could see that.
Yeah, now that I have children, I do share though.
That's nice of you.
Yes, but other than that, I cut them up and I put them in my oatmeal, or if I'm having dry cereal, you know, with my soy milk, I'll put them on there. I mix them with other fruits, you know, for a nice colorful fruit salad. And I also love strawberries on a spinach salad.
Oh, yeah.
Poppy seed dressing. I'll be doing a cooking video on that salad in the next couple weeks, so look for that soon. We also use frozen berries in our house year-round to make smoothies. My daughters both love making smoothies. And if I'm feeling a little ambitious in the kitchen, I might add them to muffin batter. And then sliced and cooked strawberries also make a great topping for like pancakes and waffles. I'll be doing a cooking video on a strawberry chia jam that's super easy to make. And it has very little added sugars in it.
Okay.
In the summer, I might make a strawberry frozen yogurt or a nice cream. Have you heard of nice cream?
Of course I have.
Oh, okay. With the frozen bananas, right?
Yes.
So I might sometimes add chopped strawberries into that too, just for a little bit different twist on it. So I'll be doing a cooking video on the frozen strawberry yogurt too, show you how to make that. And not only does that taste better, but you won't be getting all the additives and preservatives that are in a lot of commercial frozen yogurts.
Okay.
Right? I also love strawberry shortcake.
Okay.
Oh, it's one of my favorite things when I was little. So I occasionally buy the little shortcakes and put sliced strawberries on top with a little whipped cream.
Oh. Well, gee whiz, you covered everything.
Oh, okay. Well, how do you like to eat strawberries, Bethany?
Well, like you, I do like a naked berry. So in the summer, I bring a lot of strawberries like for lunch to work because I read, you know, they have a lot of fiber because of the seeds. The seeds being on the outside are actually a little bonus to strawberries, which is kind of nice. So I'll just slice them up and put like, don't look at me, but I'll put a little bit of sugar on them just to get the juice to draw out a little bit.
Yeah.
I also do that when my berries are starting to go south. I'll just cut them up and put a little sugar in them and let the juices come out. My mother, her favorite cake in the world is strawberry shortcake. And so we have it, she makes her own. So we'll have that several times over the summer, especially if she goes strawberry picking and comes home with like a big thing of strawberries.
You guys need to save me a piece of that.
I'll try. I mean, everybody kind of snaps it up. The other way I love strawberries, and this harkens back to my grandma, Schaumtorte. And if anybody out there, you know, if you're German, you probably know what I'm talking about. And my grandma used to make the best Schaumtorte from scratch. And she'd just break it open, put a little vanilla ice cream in there, and then cover it in strawberries. And it's just...
that sounds very rich.
It's meringue. It's actually not. It's very light and delicious. So moving on from strawberries, we're going to talk about another one of my favorite fruits, and that is cherries.
I love cherries too. Here are some tips for knowing what to look for when buying cherries.
They're really expensive.
Well, yeah, I know that is a downside to them, but
that's the first thing you'll notice.
Although when they're at their peak, they are less expensive.
Exactly.
Right? So that's when you want to buy them. Again, find out when your local grocery store gets their produce trucks in each week, right? Come in that day or the next day for the freshest cherries. Like strawberries, cherries do not ripen after being picked. So it's very important you follow these next tips so you get really fresh cherries.
Yes.
Okay? Look for good color. So depending on the cherry, because they do come in different colors, but generally like you want like a deep bright red color or mahogany color, depending on the variety.
Right.
Okay? Usually the darker the color, the sweeter the cherry. Okay? Usually. Another big tip, check the stems. They are the best indicator of freshness for cherries. Stems should be bright green.
Okay. I laugh because I see more brown stems on cherries than green stems.
Well, then your other thing is to look for firm cherries with no soft spots or bruising. Definitely avoid wrinkly cherries. Okay. Sort of like when we get older, we don't like our wrinkly skin. Wrinkly cherries are not good. Okay, wrinkles near the stem or even further down means they've been at room temperature for too long. Okay. They should also be free of insect damage, of course, and then what's called pitting, which are those little indentations that are actually caused by dehydration. That means they're losing their moisture.
Okay.
So that's not good.
So now we've picked the best cherries.
Yes.
We can't eat them all in one sitting. I mean, we can, but we shouldn't. How should we store them when we bring them home?
Yeah, cold storage is key to keeping cherries fresh. They are very temperature sensitive, okay? So get them in the refrigerator right away when you get home. I think I read somewhere, like, if they're out for, like, an hour, like, that's really bad.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like, you do not want them sitting out. Now, they should last about 1 week if stored properly. And again, cherries in my house don't last that long, but
me either.
Here are some other tips. Store in a plastic bag or a storage container between layers of paper towel to prevent moisture buildup.
Really, the Bounty Company owes you money, I swear.
They do. Do not rinse the cherries until you are ready to eat them. Again, they retain a lot of moisture.
Right.
That's why that paper towel is in there too. We're trying to make sure they stay
dry.
They need to be cold and they need to be dry, if that makes sense. Eat the cherries without the stems first. So if you bought a bag of them and you didn't get to pick out the ones you wanted, the ones without the stems are going to kind of rot first if you don't get to them, because once you remove the stem, now you've got like a little hole there, and now, you know, air and moisture can get in there and wreck it.
I never knew that.
Yeah, it can make the cherry rot faster, if that makes sense. And then again, if you don't get to eating all your cherries before they start to go bad, you could consider freezing them, or when they're at their peak and less expensive and you want to enjoy them year round, consider freezing them. You're going to use the same method as the strawberries, okay? You're going to rinse them, and then you're going to dry them off. Now, you can freeze with the pit intact, but it would be more convenient and probably less messy to de-pit them before you freeze.
Okay, so you're going to have to tell me how to do that, because that just sounds annoying and putsy and messy. I think my kitchen's going to be covered in cherry juice.
Well, maybe if your husband did it, it would be.
Right.
Now, if you don't have a cherry pitter,
which I'm sure you can buy.
You can buy, but they cost a little more money, okay? And they take up some space, so I don't want an extra big appliance in my kitchen. So the easiest and less messy way to de-pit a cherry, believe it or not, is to use an icing piping tip with a round tip.
Okay.
So I want you to visualize what I'm going to explain next as I'm going through it.
I hear what you're saying.
Okay. So you're going to get out an icing piping tip. Again, it's got to have the round hole on top, right?
Which if you buy
not the star.
Yeah, if you buy a standard set, it should be in there.
Yes, and these are not that expensive, okay? It'll be cheaper than the cherry pitter thing or de-pitter. So you're going to place the piping tip with the wide end down on the plate and the smaller hole on the top, right? Okay. You're going to remove the cherry stem and place the cherry stem side down over the piping tip. So right on top of it, and then you just give it a little push down, the piping tip, and then the pit is just going to pop out the top.
Oh.
That happens in like a few seconds.
Okay.
So it's super easy to do, but you do have to do one at a time that way.
Okay. Sounds like something you can have your children do.
Oh, yes. Children would probably love that. Of course, that might make your kitchen really messy.
Older children.
Maybe I should make a video of that. My children deep hitting cherries.
It sounds like a great way to spend an afternoon if you've been misbehaving. So what's your favorite way to eat cherries, aside from just like directly out of the bag?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the fruits that I mostly just eat fresh. Because they're fairly expensive, I don't buy them as often.
Right.
Maybe this summer I will make some cherry sorbet.
Ooh.
I bought an ice cream sorbet maker last summer, and so I guess I could give that a whirl. I made a plum sorbet, that roasted plum sorbet.
It was so good.
Oh, that is good.
Oh my
Maybe
gosh.
I can roast the cherries or something too.
Oh, I bet.
So I'm guessing a cherry sorbet would be delicious also. If I get inspired, I'll make a cooking video on that.
Okay.
A few times I've put frozen cherries in a smoothie with some other fruits, and that was really good. I think like a cherry sauce or a cherry jam.
Okay.
Sounds really good also. Now, I love cherry pie, but that's not as healthy, and pie is really putsy to make.
Oh, especially cherry pie.
So I only buy that occasionally. And then I think a cherry crisp might also be really good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little more work. I'm not a huge baker, so.
Crisps are pretty easy.
Yeah, that's true. Easier than the pie, at least.
Yes.
Yeah. A video I will make, though, is of a cherry lime mint spritzer.
Ooh,
it's very easy to make, and it's very refreshing in the summer.
Nice. Well, my preferred cherry are the Rainier cherries. The pretty peachy pink ones.
Yeah.
My family tradition, my dad used to buy them for just me and him at the grocery store. And so we'd sit in front of the TV and just like eat cherries like candy. And so I love to indulge in at least one bag of those. I haven't seen any yet this summer in this area, but I've bought the regular cherries. And like you, I'm just like, I just eat plain cherries.
Yeah.
I'm not even a big cherry. My grandma used to make a really good cherry pie with the lattice top and all of that stuff. But I don't like cooked cherries.
Oh, okay.
I much prefer just straight up fresh cherries.
Okay.
So
good.
I hope everybody out there enjoyed our discussion today on strawberries and cherries. And I hope it's inspired you to eat more of these delicious, healthy red fruits. If you try any of our strawberry or cherry recipes, let us know in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you. As always, if you like what you hear, remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our heart-healthy content. And tell a friend.
Yes,
Get
please.
everybody listening. We want to hear from everybody.
Well, thanks for listening today, everyone. And as we always say, be the ruler of your own heart. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Queen of Hearts podcast. Our podcast is recorded here at the Karen Yance Women's Cardiac Awareness Center inside Aurora St. Luke's Medical Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. For more heart-healthy tips, info, recipes, and more, visit our website at www.karenyancecenter.org, like us on Facebook at Karen Yance Center, and follow us on Pinterest. If you like what you hear, subscribe to our show and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time, ladies, be ruler of your own heart.